Hi, I'm Ben and you're watching Batarang to the Butt. As the title suggests, in this video I will be discussing the three Jokers. I don't mean the cinematic Jokers, I mean the ongoing storyline from the comics. And because I'll be discussing comics, I want to encourage you to go ahead and also read them for yourself. I will only be skimming over and summarising the relevant stories. This idea of there being three Jokers within the DC Comics universe goes back to 2016's Darkseid War storyline, which saw Batman getting his hands on a powerful device called the Mobius Chair. If someone sits in the chair, then they have access to infinite knowledge and the powers of a god. Batman asked the chair two questions. The first was who killed his parents, and the chair confirmed what we already knew, that it was Joe Chill. The second question was, what is the Joker's name? And this answer was less straightforward. The reader did not discover the answer just yet, but Batman was clearly shaken up by the answer that he was given. Readers discovered the answer a few months later at the beginning of the DC Rebirth era. Instead of a name, Batman was told that there are three Jokers, which gave fans a lot to speculate over. And that speculation ran rife. It didn't help that we wouldn't get a follow-up on that new mystery until several years later. In 2020, we finally got the 3-issue miniseries simply titled Three Jokers. This book was written by Jeff Johns and illustrated by Jason Fabok and Brad Anderson. For most fans, that was a winning combination. Add on top of that the fact that the book would be released under DC's Black Label imprint, which meant that the book would be intended for a more mature audience. However, Black Label DC books were not usually considered to be canon, which meant that fans became a bit confused about whether or not this follow-up would actually stand within the ongoing comic continuity. As it turns out, this book isn't canon. At the time, the creators and DC were hesitant to admit that it was not set within continuity, and that's because many fans would then feel like it did not necessarily count, which is kind of true. This does not develop the in-continuity mystery of the three Jokers. However, it is still a really solid book. Fabok is a very talented artist, and in particular his work on Batman is always incredible, so for that alone, this book is worth a read. Think of it as a what-if style take on the mystery of the three Jokers. Three Jokers follows Batman, Batgirl and Red Hood as they investigate several ongoing crimes by the Joker that are occurring simultaneously. It seems to be related to the possibility that there may be more than one Joker operating in Gotham City. The three Jokers in this story are referred to by simple titles: the Criminal, the Clown and the Comedian. These versions of the Joker also seem to be a meta way of depicting the Joker's changing personality from throughout comic book history. The Criminal is from the Golden Age, who is the most methodical of the trio, and his personality and demeanour are reminiscent of the Joker's earliest comic book appearances. His ultimate plan is to transform Joe Chill into a better Joker, worthy of being Batman's arch-nemesis, given that Chill's act of murdering Bruce Wayne's parents caused the most pain in Batman's life. The Clown is a goofy camp prankster Joker from the Silver Age, who is the most anarchistic of the trio. He is implied to be the Joker responsible for bludgeoning and killing Jason Todd in Batman: A Death in the Family. The Comedian is the demented, sadistic psychopath Joker from the Bronze and Modern Age. He seems to be the most cunning and evil of the trio. He is also the Joker who shot and paralysed Barbara Gordon in Batman: The Killing Joke. As mentioned, I like this book, and so if that sounds cool to you, you should definitely check it out. Johns initially wrote it to be canon, but somewhere along the way that no longer became true. I'm glad that it isn't canon because there's a relationship in this book that develops between Red Hood and Batgirl, and although it's okay within this book, I think in the main ongoing continuity that wouldn't work quite as well. I think Batgirl has too much history with Nightwing and Red Hood are brothers, so that would just be a bit too messy for my liking. However, after fans realised that it was not canon, they began to feel a bit short-changed. The tides kind of turned on the book, which was not helped when you consider that, because of this book, the actual canon mystery was seemingly dropped for a while. I think they wanted to wait and see how popular it was to see whether or not they would make it canon. Fabok said as much on Twitter. In 2021, we got a storyline called Joker War in the main Batman comic, which was written by James Tynion IV and featured art by Jorge Jimenez. Again, I enjoyed this arc, but it never really addressed the mystery of the three canon Jokers. So, years passed once again. The storyline almost faded into obscurity, with many fans accepting that they were unlikely to get any follow-up or resolution outside of the non-canon Three Jokers book. Until quite recently. Batman is currently being written by Chip Zdarsky, and it still has Jorge Jimenez on art duties. Lucky us, because Jimenez is one of my top favourite comic book artists of all time. In a recent storyline, we finally got the answers that we have been waiting for. In Zdarsky's run, he has revisited a few elements of Batman's past, and even retconned a few things here and there. That isn't a bad thing. In fact, in a comic series which has run for over 80 years, it's inevitable. Zdarsky wrote a 3-issue arc called Joker Year 1, which revisited the early days of the Joker, the immediate aftermath of his first arrival on the scene. This arc also acts as a sequel to Batman 0 Year, which was written by Scott Snyder, featuring art by Greg Capullo. Another great book, and another huge recommendation. One of the concepts that Zdarsky revisited is the Batman of Zur-en-Arrh, which is quite a complicated concept. I will make a video about it at some point, as it is really interesting, but to quickly summarise, the Zur-en-Arrh persona was created by Bruce Wayne to be used in the event that he was ever mentally compromised. If his spirit was ever fully defeated and his mind was broken, this persona would come to the forefront, as originally seen in the storyline Batman R.I.P. This persona only has one mission: for justice to prevail by any means necessary. Zur-en-Arrh is unburdened by the weakness of humanity, which includes his connections to family, friends, and other allies. He is also shown to be more violent and unhinged than Batman's normal persona, and he usually dresses in a red, yellow, and purple costume. As you can imagine, all of that makes this particular persona a liability, which is why it is only to be used in the event of a major emergency as a last-ditch effort. During Joker Year 1, we meet the man who taught this skill to Bruce, Dr. Daniel Captio. It turns out that once upon a time Captio was betrayed by Bruce Wayne in another Batman prequel book by Chip Zdarsky called Batman the Knight. And so, in order to exact his revenge, he sought an enemy to train. In Joker Year 1, we discover that he chose, well, you guessed it, the Joker. Despite Joker's initial reluctance, he joins the Doctor, and so Joker was trained to no longer feel fear or pain, just like how Bruce had been trained. Then, ultimately, Captio taught the Joker how to create backup personalities. This is how the Joker became split in 3. Not 3 separate bodies, but 3 separate personas. This is how Dr. Capito describes the training. He exceeds Bruce immediately, seeing the potential of the backups. The first is the clown, laughter and devilishness bursting forth, an imp with a demon inside. The second is simply that demon. I don't believe in heaven or hell, but if I did, I'd think this man has existed for millennia, tormenting humanity in service of something greater. The third is calm like a black ocean at night, and like that ocean, all that waits for you is cold death. For the first time in my life, I'm finally awestruck. And perhaps unsurprisingly, not long after this, the Joker kills Dr. Captio. Or so it seems. Later it is revealed that Joker is keeping him prisoner in a secret basement somewhere. Now, as with all good Joker origin stories, it was told by the Joker himself, a probably unreliable narrator.
If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice.
Batman even casts aspersions on this story in the very next issue. However, considering that there is no other way that he would know key details, such as the existence of Dr. Captio, and the fact that he clearly feels no fear, then it seems that there is at least a pinch of truth to this. It turns out that Joker loves the Batman of Zur-en-Arrh. He sees it as a more pure version of Batman, Breaking regular Batman will be easy. Breaking the Batman of Zur-en-Arrh? Now that's a challenge. And as per Capdio's advice, Joker creates chaos, danger and emergencies in an attempt to lure out the Zur-en-Arrh personality once again. Like when he killed Jason Todd and when he paralysed Barbara Gordon. These were Joker's attempts to bring out the Batman of Zur-en-Arrh, the pure Batman. Unfortunately, during the few occasions when Bruce has allowed the Batman of Zur-en-Arrh to come out, it went rogue. The personas are separate, partitioned off from one another. So the Batman of Zur-en-Arrh secretly built a failsafe robot that could even take down Batman. That's right, Bruce's failsafe alter ego persona created a failsafe robot Batman. Like I said, this stuff is complicated. And there we have it. This was quite a recent revelation, so I don't want to spoil what happens next. As always, I want to get you excited and interested in comics. So once again, be sure to check out these books, and while you're at it, support your local comic book store too. I'm also curious to know, which story is your favourite? Do you prefer the 3 Jokers story, or do you prefer Joker Year 1? 3 separate Jokers, or 3 Jokers in one Joker's body? Or are you sick of the Joker altogether? And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, I appreciate it. If you liked this video, consider leaving a like, and check out the Batarang to the Butt Facebook page for even more geeky good stuff just like this.
He always knew how to make an exit.